up, everybody? Welcome to Unapologetically Him podcast starring Anthony McLeon. Today I'm with my guest Ian, the teacher from Idaho. Today we're discussing parental alienation, and we're going to get his take on things and hear a little about his story. I have some questions, but I want you to just go ahead and explain what's on your mind right now off the top of the head. What's the main thing bothering you far as your situation?
Yeah, so I guess to kind of start with my situation, like it basically started just about 2 years ago exactly when I started dating this woman who was also living up here in Idaho at the time. I live in Caldwell, which is like 30 minutes away from Boise. She lived in Boise at the time, and I started seeing her.
How you
Um,
pronounce it? How you pronounce it?
but yeah, the people up here will say like if you say Boise, like for the longest time I would just say Boise, but like people will explicitly correct you and say it's Boise. So
Right.
I tried
Okay.
to placate to
Okay.
them. Yeah. But I don't
I'm
really
running
care.
with. Yeah, I'm gonna run with that. But go ahead, finish. My bad.
So I started seeing her like October 2023 or so, and she was already a mother before we got together. She had been living with the father of her first child. Like they were co-parenting together, but they were not like together in a relationship. And
Right.
so like we started dating. It would basically be like, I would hang out with her like in the evenings, like after 7 o'clock when she would put her daughter down. That would kind of be our time to be able to hang out. I would usually drive out to Boise, bring her back to Caldwell, and we would hang out for a few hours. And then I would drive her back to Boise, then drive back to Caldwell.
How long that how long that drive was?
It's basically like, 30 minutes and mileage overall
Oh,
is
that ain't
100.
bad.
Yeah, it's like 110 miles, like they're back, they're back. So, I mean, I was putting miles on my car, but I didn't care because, I wanted to
Right.
hang out with her and be with
Exactly.
her.
Exactly.
When the 2024 started, like the first few days, like we found out that she was pregnant. And then basically we broke up in the middle of March. It was not a mutual breakup. Like she broke up with me. She didn't want really anything to do with me. And as far as like how she was approaching the pregnancy, it was kind of like if there's something you need to know about the baby or should know about the baby, I will let you know. And for a time, like that kind of was a bit of the case. She really didn't talk to me for like a month or so after the breakup, but then kind of messaged me saying that I kind of like ruined her life essentially because now she was pregnant. She was living still like co-parenting, living with the father of her first kid. And
Pregnant with your
then
baby though.
yes, with mine.
He knew.
And
Did
then
he know that?
Um, he did not know for a time. Like she basically kept it from him for a few months, from my understanding, basically from my eventual conversations with him,
Right.
is that she did not kind of like open up about it until like quite a bit after we had broken up. And then basically few months pass, June comes around, so she's about like 6 months pregnant, and that's basically the last time that she talks to me at all. Like towards the end of the month, she let me know like it's a girl, by the way. And then I had asked her like if she had a name for her yet. She said she would let me know when she does. A few days after that, she tells me, our daughter's name, and then that would be the last that I hear from her for a long time. After that point, she did not contact me. She would not respond to me when I reached out to her. And then eventually, like, I find out, like, from trying to send a message that she's blocked me at that point.
Right.
And so basically having to go through the last few months of the pregnancy of, basically having no contact with her, not being told anything. My daughter was due like early September, like September 10th or 12th, thereabout. She was actually born August 28th, and I had no idea. Like my brother was the one who had to tell me that she was born because, she had posted something on Instagram, but she had me blocked. So I was unable to see that. But my brother was the one who had told me about it, and still like she didn't
Right.
talk to me.
So she, far as I don't. What did you, in your honest opinion, what do you think was her reason? In your honest opinion, was it
I
a
mean,
disagreement? What did you do to What did you do to make her mad?
I'm fully honest in that, like, I was not a perfect partner. Like, there was things that I struggled with when it came to, like, being honest about my emotions, being able to communicate them and the ways that I felt in a manner that, it was not always respectful at times. It wasn't always calm at times, and I definitely take responsibility for that. So one part is like she just didn't want anything to do with me and how I acted. And then also she basically felt like she could do it on her own and that she didn't need me in that aspect for
Was she
our
on
daughter.
assistance?
Not like government assistance, but the father of her first child and his father were helping her towards the end of that pregnancy. Like, the father of her first child was there in the delivery room with her, like, when my daughter was born, and
You
they
you
were.
sure? You sure she didn't have him thinking that that was his baby for a little bit?
No, like, they were very much, like, not together, and trust me, I totally understand the perspective of, like, she's living with the father of her first kid, like, that kinda looks suspicious to a lot of people, and I can totally see that from that perspective, but, from where
Right.
I was, I never had that worry, and, he made it explicitly clear, like, when we eventually had conversations that he was like, we're not together. Like, there was never anything like that. Like, making it clear so that way it wasn't a possibility that any of us could actually entertain.
Right.
And so after my daughter was born, she's still there in Boise with him and they're living together. He is, like also taking care of her during this time. And then after about a month or so, the start of October of 2023, so basically 2 years ago, she left for Texas. She took our daughter and then her first daughter, and they went to Texas like under the pretense of that they were going to take my daughter to meet like the rest of her family the same way that they had done with her first
So she
daughter.
basically lied. She basically
Yeah,
lied.
when she got there, she had, like, her paperwork filed for, like, sole custody and stuff, and basically told the father of her first kid, like, "We are staying here in Idaho or staying here in Texas," and, like, I had no idea that this was happening until I was at school one day, and I was covering, like, a special needs aide, when I got a phone call and I recognized the caller ID, like the last name, as being the same as, my daughter's sister's father. And so I answered it and it was his father. So like her first daughter's grandfather. And he basically informed me as to what the situation was and was one like just kind of trying to inform me, like, do you know that Samara is born? That's my daughter's name. Like she was like, or he is like, do you know she's here and stuff? And I'm explaining that, yes, I know that she's born. I know that she is physically like here, but like I have not been included. That's when he kind of informed me that this is what she has done. She's taken both the children with her to Texas and is basically saying that they're staying.
Wow.
And yeah. And what makes everything even more like complicated is like during this entire process, like my mother was diagnosed with cancer at the start of last year, like
Oh, I'm sorry to
January.
hear that.
Yeah, and it was hard because I made the decision to stay up here in Idaho instead of going back home to Vegas because the way I saw it is like I wanted to be able to be here for my daughter and for the mother of my child just because like that's what I felt like I
So
do.
Vegas is really home.
Yes, Vegas is really home. That's where like my dad, my
Okay.
brother live. So yeah, that is
And
home
you
home.
you made this decision to stay in Idaho when you had that option to go back home, but you was doing this for the sake of the child.
Yeah, because the way kind of the impression that I was under is like, I was told like if there's something you need to know or should to know, like I'll let you know. So I felt like I was going to be included at different points during the pregnancy and I wasn't. So but I made the decision to stay up here in Idaho, even as my mom continued to get more sick and her health deteriorated. And unfortunately, like she did pass at the end of last year in December. And
Well, my
so
condolences go out to you and your family.
I appreciate that, sir. It means a lot. And like, I know she understood why I stayed in Idaho, and she supported my decision because she's a parent. She was my mom. Like, a parent wants to do whatever they can for their child, and she totally understood that. It doesn't make it any easier because, it's like, had I known things were going to go this way, I definitely would have taken the time to go home and be with my mom for that time that she had left.
Right.
And
Did your father know what was going on? What did he say about that, or he didn't know?
he supported my decision to like be up here,
Okay.
to be there for my daughter and for the mother of my child. And because he understood what I was trying to do, like he had the same mentality of like, yeah, like you're trying to do what you can for your daughter.
Exactly.
Where, he was down there to help support my mom, to try and take care of her when he could, when he wasn't working and stuff. So, like, that's where kind of the rest of my family was trying to take care of my mom during that time. And so that's kind of where it made everything harder, is just having to deal with both situations simultaneously.
Well, see,
But
the
still,
thing is, yeah, right. But the thing is, you shouldn't even have had you experienced the extra stuff that came from her side by not letting you see the child or keeping you posted on the things that's going on. Like, and that alone right there makes a man feel as though he's in a position where he can't win.
no, for that is kind of how I felt for a long time. It's just like I had that opportunity stripped from me. Like I can't get those opportunities back, and I can't really focus on anything else besides trying to be in her life at this point. Like, to me, it doesn't really matter, trying to be like I try to take care of myself, but my first priority is to try and be a parent for my daughter before I focus on anything about myself.
Right.
And it's just been hard to try and heal, to try and pull myself together and be a parent that my daughter deserves when I've been cut out of her life up until this point. And so from there,
Well,
like after she left, the father of her first kid, they both got lawyers, and they're both starting to do their court process. And like I got partially involved in terms of offering my side, because one of the things that she said when she like some of her paperwork was that like part of the reason that she moved to Texas was that she needed help with her second daughter, i.e. our daughter, because the father like wasn't around and didn't want to be in the picture when I've always wanted to be in. So she had basically in her paperwork like gave a reason that she needed help back home in Texas with our daughter because the father, me, like wasn't around and didn't want to be in the picture, which wasn't the case. Like I had expressed to her multiple times throughout the pregnancy, like I just want to be in my daughter's life. And so I had signed an affidavit for the father of her first child to basically explain like no, like basically refuting that point of saying like no, like I've always wanted to be in her life, like that's not true. I stayed up here in Idaho. It wasn't like any sort of secret as to where I was up here the whole time. uh, and so you know their process continued to go along. And then basically right after that point, like when I had signed that affidavit for them, that's when I lost my mom, and then kind of started that process of having to pull myself together and having to try and, heal from that and to turn myself into someone that,
I know that took a lot out of you.
yeah, no, it's been an incredibly hard thing, especially because not having had that time with her to really spend with her, I think has been the hardest part. Whereas like my dad and my brother and sister got the time with her to kind of be with her, for her to have more closure with them and for them to have closure with her. Whereas, like, for me, I really didn't have a lot of that. Like, the last time I saw her before she passed was Thanksgiving. And then a few weeks later, she was gone. And like, didn't really have a chance to say goodbye at that point. So it's really stuck with me. And it's been, a hard thing to come to terms with. But like, I've tried to give myself the grace and I know my mom wouldn't want me to feel the way that I have felt about it, because I know she would just want me to, do the best I can, which I have tried. And that's kind of where I've tried to basically like pull myself together. I've worked 2 jobs basically the last 2 years, basically working full time, both like 80 plus hours a
Are you
week.
on child support?
I am not on child support right now, but when I filed my case in July, I had included in the filing that, like, in order for child support, that I'm okay with child support. And last week, I flew down to Texas because that's where my case is based in, and had the first hearing for our case, which essentially it didn't really go anywhere besides establishing that we are not going to be able to come to terms with this. Like, we're not going to be able to agree to anything like outside of the court. Like, we're going to have to go through the court process in order for something to be established. But voiced her that like I'm perfectly okay with child support from her
Why you
perspective.
think she never? Why you think she never asked for it? Because of the help that the other child father is providing.
No, I think that it was her way of basically keeping me out of her life. Whereas, like, if I'm not on the hook for child support, then I don't really have those parental rights that I can. Um,
Also, so basically, she don't want to open the door for you to be able to even come be in a child's life.
yeah,
So
because
she basically saying, I don't want nothing to do with you. They can have the child support, all that. We don't want nothing. That's basically what she's saying.
Yeah, because at some point, like during this summer, she had like requested an emergency child support from the father of her first kid. She was perfectly okay with providing because, like, that's his daughter and he wants to make sure that his daughter is taken care of. But she did not try to like reach out to me to request anything from me. And that's because I think it's because like she didn't want to include me. And when we were discussing at the court hearing, the judge kind of asked if we were able to talk about this to try and find an agreement, which we were both open to, like, okay, like we can see if we can talk and figure it out. And
Right.
basically, what she expressed is like she doesn't want me to have like any custody, let alone visitation, that she doesn't like want child support from me, that they're okay on that end. Like they don't need money from me, from my daughter. And so that kind of confirmed to me that, yeah, like that's part of the reason why she didn't want child support, was that she didn't want me to be able to basically have my paternal rights to be
Did
able to
y'all
see my
did, did y'all have any domestic violence issues?
No, nothing like that. Just
So
arguing.
her whole sole reason for doing this is basically I guess her acting out of emotion and just making things bigger than what it is. Would you say that?
I mean, I don't want to paint her in like a sort of bad light, because I feel like I have my own responsibility for the situation and not being able to communicate in a way, but it's
But
just
the
felt
thing
like,
is, but you always made the attempt. Am I correct?
yeah, like I always made the attempt to to let it be known that like, hey, I want to be in her life. There is no doubt that I wanted to be in her life in whatever capacity that I can be. And I made that clear to her when we were talking down in Texas, that like I'm perfectly okay with moving my life down here if that's what it means being with my daughter. Now, that isn't like
Well,
what I would.
my reason for asking that is, no matter how you treated her or whatever you and her beef or problems was, and I respect the fact that you took accountability and admit the fact that you said things and at times you were the problem. But regardless of that, you didn't have any domestic violence issues. I'm going off of what you said.
Correct.
Yes, you guys had problems, but still keeping your child away from you is not necessary. This, so it still boiled down to what I was trying to basically say. She's acting off emotion. She's doing what majority of women are doing in society. They mad at something or don't like something because of a reason, and then they weaponize the child. And that's basically, I mean, I understand you say you don't want to put her in a bad light, but we dealing with reality here. This is what thousands of men are going through. Just because she doesn't like something or because y'all didn't have agreement, I'm going to use the child. That's her only way of her get back towards you.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
No, absolutely, and because,
That's
like,
her only
that
get
is the
back.
only. Yeah, because there's nothing else that connects us at this point. The only thing that, like, if there wasn't a child between us, then it would have been a lot easier for to be able to move on with my life, to be able to try and, go from there to try and be better and not have something that is keeping me tied to the situation. But that's not the case because we have a child together and that fact isn't going to be changed.
So where we at right now, as far as the case?
Basically, I am having a hearing for next month. Basically, like we discussed at our meeting or hearing last Friday, came to the conclusion like, yeah, we're not going to be able to come to an amicable agreement by ourselves. So we told the judge, like, yeah, we're not going to be able to agree to anything. So he instructed me that, like, I need to establish the next court date while also telling her that, like, he is the father and he is going to have visitation, like that is his rights. So
Right.
basically what stage I'm at is like establishing the date for next month, as well as like communicating with her, because like we are both pro se in this situation right now. We're both representing ourselves, not because I want to represent myself. It's just a matter of like I don't really have the financial means to retain a lawyer.
Retain attorney. Yeah.
Right. Like, I have 2 jobs for a reason, like, because of the expenses that I have, because of,
Right.
that's life right now, and my family is not really in a position to help me with retention for an attorney because of, what my family went through last year. So I'm
I
kind of
got you. I
having
understand.
so it's like I'm trying to do this on my own. Granted, like, the day after the hearing, she had basically reached out to me saying like that her and her husband talked about the situation and that they would be okay with me having supervised visitation under some conditions, which would include like it's in a public setting with them present. It would basically be a weekend every 6 months until
What?
a year from now. Yeah. And that, like, I am fine with most of the conditions, like that it be supervised, that they're there in a public setting. Like, not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to a 10-panel hair follicle test. Not an issue with that. But what was the deal breaker for me, and I explained to her, is like, I can't accept only being able to see my daughter twice in a year because that doesn't give me an opportunity to be able to form a relationship with my daughter. So, yeah, that's basically where I'm at
Yeah,
is,
that's crazy. I ain't never heard no shit like that. That's crazy.
yeah.
The court,
So
the court wouldn't allow that, would they? Or
I am not sure. I will find out next month
yeah,
when we go and have another hearing as to like I just want to see my daughter. I want to visit my daughter. I'm okay with certain conditions, but I'm not able to accept only being able to see her twice in a year. And
and
I
you're saying you're
voiced.
willing to move to Texas?
Yeah, I explained to the judge, like, when we kinda first started the hearing and he asked, like, "What do I want?" And I just told him straight up, like, "I wanna be in my daughter's life in whatever way that I can be, and I'm more than willing to move down to Texas in order to be around and closer to my daughter." Now, I'm fine with that. Is it the situation that I want in the end? No, because I do want my daughter and her older sister to be together. Like, I want them to be together. That's kind of why I've stayed up in Idaho as well, is that the father of her first child also lives up here. Like, we live 30 minutes away. And so I see it as like best for the girls to be able to
Right,
grow up together, around each other, because they're sisters. Like, it doesn't matter that they have different dads or whatever. They're sisters to us.
right, right, right. That makes
And
sense.
so that would be the ideal situation, but, like, I'm not sure as to what is gonna happen there. The trial between her and the father of her first kid is in December, like, mid-December, and depending on how that goes, like, that will obviously kind of affect how our case goes because depending on how they rule, if they rule in favor of the father, him getting primary custody, I would see it as, like at least helping me to be able to more likely bring her to Idaho. I don't want to deprive her of her mom because, like, as someone who has to go through the rest of my life without my mom, like, I don't want my daughter to have to experience that too, especially when both her parents are alive.
What is the thing? You seem like a nice guy. Your concern should only be your daughter. Just like she moved on with her life and took you through all this extra shit you gotta go through. I mean, not you're not doing it with bad intentions. You're doing it with the purpose of being a father to your daughter. Something you have been wanting to do for the longest now, and that she has prevented you from doing. She never put no thought into how you felt about anything. And it's not depriving her of her mother. It's just, you getting your time with her. It's just a little more extensive than just the weekends.
And so, however it ends up going, like, I obviously want what's best for her. I want what's best for her sister. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do is just like not trying to be malicious, not trying to make it seem like I'm not trying to punish her or anything. Like I just want what's best for my daughter. And I think that her being in both her parents' lives and both her parents being in her life is what is best for her.
Oh, I totally agree. And the thing is, a lot of times us men, we have good intentions, just like you describe everything that you've been doing. I mean, it's sad that you have to do all that, but you're putting up the fight. But for
Yeah.
some men, it gets to a point where they can no longer fight. Would you say after this next court date, would you have reached that point, or do you feel as though you're going to continue to fight if this court date that's coming up within the next couple of months, if it doesn't go according to plan?
I mean, like not knowing like what may come out of the court hearing, like I don't see myself as giving up anytime soon because like I didn't stay up in Idaho and not be there for my mom as she got sicker and sicker and lose her just to give up on being in my daughter's life because of however this might go. Like, I can't
I
be
hear you.
made feel worse than I've already felt in the last year, year and a half with the situation. Like, she can't make me feel any more pain or hurt than I've already felt before. So I can keep going and I know it's not gonna be easy, I know it's not gonna be pleasant, but it's just something that I know I'm gonna endure and get through, and however it ends up, how it is however it ends up, but I will keep going the best I can.
Let me ask you this. Is she the type that'd match, that'd get a lawyer also if she found out that you had a lawyer, or she's not the type to even get a lawyer?
So she has a lawyer for her case up here in Idaho between her and the father of her first kid. And I don't think that like she would be opposed to getting a lawyer for her case down in Texas, but it might be difficult for her to do so because like her family situation, like she cannot get more money from her family. Like her father and her stepmom are getting a divorce, so they can't pull money from like that is shared estate or whatnot. So I don't think that they're gonna be able to pull more money if they want a lawyer. If they do get a lawyer, it'll be some other way that they're able to get that money for it. But
Right.
with the money that they've already used for the first case, they can't continue to pull more because those assets are like basically frozen, as the divorce plays out.
Well, you know what? You got her right where you need her to be. I know you said you don't have the funds as of right now, but and lawyers aren't that much. $1,500 you can get. I mean, 1,500 can get you a decent lawyer to go to court with you. But the reason them cases wins is because a lot of times within my community, the women don't get a lawyer. Now it's time to work on your terms. So in your situation, she fuck around and match and get a lawyer. So it might be more costly for you because with your lawyer,
It's going to be a continuous process of like having
exactly.
continuously investing until the case is concluded, which like it's not that I'm unwilling to like have pay money towards them,
Right,
you know.
right. I get it and I understand. The fight that you willing to put is commendable. Start to get to you like some men, then it start to affect other areas of life, work, other relationships with other people. Just from you
Yeah.
not being able to see your child, that could trickle down to a lot of areas, especially for the fathers who really want to be in their children's life, especially around the holidays and their birthdays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cause I'm going through parent alienation myself. That's what led to me doing this podcast. I mean, there's other topics and stuff that I'm gonna talk about also, but right now I feel as though this is one of the top things that we need to address and hope. So, and it ain't just the women, but I feel as though it's the women who have to lead in order for all this to change. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
the more of them that take accountability for what they're doing, like which things that you have experienced, even though I didn't hear nothing so bad that she's done besides the alienation, because to be honest, it just seems like she just don't want to deal with you at all, just don't want no parts of you. But
Right.
at the same time, it still doesn't warrant you not being able to see your daughter. I
Yeah.
mean, you seem like a good guy. You say you work 2 jobs. What I'm getting from you is good all around. I'm taking your word for it that it wasn't no violence in a relationship. So you don't deserve what you're going through. And know you got the court date coming up. What I want to do is wish you good luck with that, and hopefully everything will go according to plan. We're reaching our time right now. Is there any final thoughts or anything you want to say for the people, or something
I
you want to
mean,
share?
I think like and to you as well, like I hope your situation improves and that, your case gets better, but like, if
I appreciate that.
if I can speak to like other people or anybody can take anything from like my experience, I would say is like to take that initiative. Not that I'm sure that people aren't trying to take that initiative, but don't take someone's word for it that you will be included or that, they'll let you know, like take that initiative and secure your rights early on so that way you don't get screwed, that you don't get excluded from your child's life the way that I have. Like, I've missed my daughter being able to turn 1, that she started to walk and kind of do all those milestones that I would have loved to be there for. But
Exactly. Exactly.
if someone else can be spared from that experience, then that would be kind of the best thing to come out of this situation for other people who are watching and listening.
Right. Well, that's a good take. And again, I wish you the best, Ian. Thanks for coming on Unapologetically Home Podcast. And I wish you nothing but the best. Thanks again, Ian from Idaho, the teacher. It
Thank
was
you
really
very
good
much,
chatting with
Anthony.
you.
It was good chatting with you too. I hope you have a good weekend. Enjoy.
All right, you do the same. And maybe we could do this again. Get a part 2, basically get an update on what happened with the court situation.
Yeah, I would not be opposed to
How
that to
that
kind of
sounds?
like that sounds good to me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you got my DM, you have my information and everything. So once
Yeah.
everything's situated and you got some time, don't hesitate to reach out and then we'll just hop back on and do a part 2.
All right. Thank you very much, Anthony. I appreciate you having me on. You have a good one.
All right. You welcome Ian from Idaho. Thanks for coming on Apologetically Podcast and you enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Peace.